everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Nye here, and today we are talking about landlord and tenant agreements here in Ghana. We are sitting here with the beautiful Miss Leonie, and she's going to go over all the elements into a rental agreement here in Ghana, so stay tuned. Hey Leonie, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. I'm well, and you? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's nice.
I don't know if I should be telling the secret, but this is the birthday girl today. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
How does it feel to see another year?
I'm grateful.
Right, just grateful
Yes.
to the Most High for
Yes.
seeing another year. Well, thank you so much for coming back onto the channel. And to start off with, how is a landlord and tenant agreement or relationship, how is it formed? How is it created?
All right. Again, thank you for having me, and hello to your viewers. Yes, so a landlord and a tenant relationship is a contractual relationship. Okay. So I mean, on the base of it is a contract. Okay, so we specify that relationship specially because there are certain things that go into it specially. But on the base of it, the landlord has to agree that he's going to give the tenants the opportunity to live in their house or whatever premises we are talking about. And then on certain terms. And then the tenant also has to agree to those terms. And then the benefits to the tenant is that he gets accommodation. And the benefits to the landlord is that he or she gets rent payments and all that goes on in there. So so they both agree, you know, for exchanging promises together. I'll get this from you, you get this from me.
Like a win-win type of relationship.
We agree for a period that I will use your property, your premises, whatever, based on these things. And then based on that agreement, they bind each other to say, we will do this for each other. Yes, so it's a contractual arrangement, but because it has certain special things, that's why we say there's something called the landlord-tenant relationship.
Oh, got you. So with it being, so it has to be a contractual written agreement.
So
correct?
It doesn't have to be written to be a contract. Okay, it's a contract by reason of the agreement, the exchange of promises, and the intention that this is something that should it go down south, we are going to look for remedy in court. You know, they mean to bind themselves in court. So, and then they both have the capacity to, you know, they have the capacity to contract or bind themselves. So it's a contract for those reasons. Yes, that it meets all the terms of what a contract is. They agree there's something promise that is being exchanged and so on. So it's a contract for that reason. It doesn't have to be written. You know, it's not compulsory. In Ghana, it must be written if it is 3 years. Okay, more than 3 years.
Okay, yes. So it must be 3 years.
It must be. But I mean, it must be written, it must be registered here. So if you are looking at a tenancy agreement which is 2 years and you want to risk not writing it, I mean, why would you want to do that?
Exactly.
So you are not compelled to, but I mean, it makes sense to. You know, especially depending on the values we are talking about. If you are renting a place for 6 months and it's a high value place, you would still want to protect whatever and write it down, even though you are not compelled to. So not every contract, every landlord-tenant agreement has to be written, but sometimes it's just prudent for you to write it down. Because I mean, it's evidence.
Exactly. If something goes bad or you have it down, you know, on paper. And that's really, really important. So what are the key elements and factors that go into an agreement like that?
Yes. So like I was saying before, on the basis of the fact that it is a contract, all the elements of a contract must be in there. The two of them must agree. The two parties must agree on what it is they are agreeing on.
Right,
you know, this building for this number of years for this rent, you know, and then we both agree. Okay, so there must be that agreement, and then there must be exchange of promises. I will give you this in exchange for this. You give me this in exchange for that. Okay, so those are very important things, and then both of them must have the capacity, the legal standing. You know, in the eyes of the law, you must have the ability to contract. The reason being that there are certain groups of people who don't have the capacity to contract, like minors or people with mental incapacity.
Yeah, they're not in their
Yes.
right mind.
So you must have that. So, and all the other elements. In addition, you know, like I said, it comes in the premises in the tenancy agreement must be specified. Units
Okay.
2B, independence suit or something specific. And then how long are we looking at you being there? 5 years, 5 months, 6 months, so and so. Because what that agreement gives to the tenant is exclusive possession of the premises for a period. So, I mean, which premises are we talking about?
Right.
Which period are we talking about? All of that has to be in the agreement specified. And then we can call it a tenancy agreement.
Okay. So would you say that it's good to maybe have a lawyer involved to draw up your agreements, or, you know, is that required, or would you say that that's even, you know, necessary?
Well, nothing prevents you if you're a landlord, okay, let's say of a building. Let's just say that this answer is it depends on what's going on. The context has to come in. There are certain documents prescribed by law that must be prepared by lawyers, like transfer of interest in a property. If you are assigning or you're selling your property to someone else, it has to be prepared by a lawyer. Okay, so those ones prescribed by law, they are there. Okay, but there are others that are not prescribed by the law. Like I'm saying, a landlord renting a suite to somebody.
Right.
You are not bound to, but would you risk it? You know, not being properly done, such that if you need to enforce it, you have done something to make it invalid. So it's safe to go to a lawyer to have it prepared.
Right, because I know I would say I would want a lawyer to be present just to, you know, make sure that things are in order. What type of lawyer are you? Kind of like, what's your specialty, so people know?
All right, well, I have almost a decade of experience in land. So I have done land for a long time. So there's that. But apart from land, you know, and being a certified valuer and all that, it comes with my expertise. So land, definitely. And then in my practice as a lawyer, I've done a lot of corporate law, commercial, family law. I do litigation as well.
Okay.
And so I would say that general practice, but with specific expertise in land.
Okay, so but you dibble and dabble in different things. So well, that's good to know. So with an agreement, what are like the tenant's rights when it comes to a contractual agreement?
Okay, so let's talk about the one that is often a point of contention.
Okay.
Exclusive possession. Okay, a tenancy gives you exclusive possession, meaning that at the time you agree with the landlord, he is allowing you to be the only one to use the premises, meaning that you are excluding him and all the rest that do not have rights. Okay, so this is very important because you have some landlords having rented premises to people, and they are showing up every week to your premises,
that'll never
entering
work.
your room, you know, all that. And it's a problem for many people, you know, especially in the Ghanaian market. Many landlords are looking inside your soup. It's just...
Are you serious?
But the whole point of a lease or a tenancy is a short lease, is that you are allowing the tenant the ability to live in the room alone. So such that even as a landlord, if you are coming to visit, you need to give the tenant proper notification of your visit. Often, if it is properly drafted, your visits should be regulated in the tenancy agreement, such that we know when to expect you. Not that you can show up
just
anytime.
Pop up.
Yeah, so that's one of the key things that key rights of a tenant. And the landlord deserves his rent. It's key. His rights is to... So once you are breaching that, you are breaching a very important covenant, or one of the most important terms of the contract, that he has given you his place for exclusively for so and so number of years, months, and you in turn have to pay him his rent. So he deserves his rent. And then there are other things that even in Ghanaian law are not said but are implied, you know, that the landlord will pay certain rates. You see, as in taxes, certain taxes that go with the owning property. The landlord will pay, but then the tenants will also take good care of the building, leave it in good state of repair. I mean, apart from the normal wear and tear, you will leave the property in a good state, and then at the end of your tenancy, you will we say deliver up the property. You leave quietly,
right?
We don't have to come and force you out and all that. So some of those things, and that one of the other rights the tenant has is that the landlord will promise certain things that I own this property. And so on. So the tenants in the agreement can give themselves immunity should anything happen because the landlord was not being honest about his ownership of the property. The tenant should be able to sue him, recover, or something that he has lost because the landlord was not truthful. Some of these things. So.
Oh, well, I'm actually glad that you're going over this because people coming from the West, we're used to, when it comes to rental agreements and things of that nature, we're used to the way things are done over there. But here, certain things I'm seeing are similar, but they are different in certain ways. And I have one question for you. By being here for almost 6 years, maybe you can clear this up for me, but this is just something that I have observed. And it's kind of made me a little leery of contractual agreements here in Ghana. When it comes to the courts, will things be honored? Like if I'm having a problem, but the other party maybe can, pay off some people, or you know what I'm saying? It's just a thing of things being done fairly. You know what I'm saying? Not being left out to dry because, you may not have, enough money or, your representation. So with contractual agreements, are they really honored?
Yes, the courts are there to honor your agreement. So they are honored. But the courts are not the only institutions to honor an agreement such as this. First of all, you can write into your agreement, which is why you probably need it. Like you can write into the agreement what happens when there's a dispute. What happens if we have a disagreement? You can agree between the two of you that when we have a disagreement, or a dispute with regards to this tenancy agreement, we will not go through the long process of the courts. For instance, you can agree. You can agree to use alternative dispute resolution. You can do mediation, and maybe even arbitration is. It's depending again. It depends on the values we are talking about. Certain transactions are so high value that it will be good for you to use arbitration rather than the courts because you, for instance, want things to go faster.
Exactly.
Yes. So they will be honored, definitely. Definitely, they will be honored. But again, it depends on the forum you use for your dispute resolution. The court will honor you, but it just may take longer than you want. If you are in a commercial building, a tenant has defaulted or has their tenant has elapsed, you need them to go, but they are proving difficult. You need a court order. To eject them, to take their things out.
Tell them to leave.
Yes. Will it take long, or have the parties agreed on a way to go about things? Like, we've appointed somebody who will make a decision, and that decision will be binding, and we can take it to court for enforcement. So it's all about what you write into your agreement. But that said, in Ghana we have something called the Rent Act.
What's the Rent Act?
Yes. So we have a whole regime of rent control measures where landlords can go and complain if there's a problem, tenants can go and complain, and when the rent officer makes a decision, that decision can be taken to the district magistrate court and enforced as if the whole problem with the tenancy agreement has gone through the court system. So that sort of abridges, it shortens the process, of getting your problems resolved when it is landlord-tenant. So there is that. And it works.
Well, that's the important thing.
It works. The Secretariat will we call it rent control. The infrastructure is not where it could be, such that it is available everywhere and it's widespread. And many people don't even know it exists. Okay,
Really?
So that's the only downside. But if you know where it exists, and usually it's in the district, it's attached to maybe the municipal assembly, or there's provision for a rent control office in the district. So you may not know about it, but if you find it and you go there and you make a complaint, the other party will be invited, and then there will be some sort of mediation. And when a conclusion is reached, you can take it to court for that conclusion to be enforced through the court processes. So you take out a lot of things. So there's that whole mechanism as well when it comes to landlord tenant.
Okay, does it matter the region that you're in?
Well, it's supposed to be everywhere. For now, I have seen rent control offices in Accra. I've seen rent control offices in Kaswa.
Okay.
But that's it. I don't know if there, I'm sure there are rent control offices elsewhere where you can complain about such things. Yes, so there are schemes that the parties themselves can agree to. There's a rent control side, and then there's the court. The court is open for any sort of breach of contract you have, of course. Of course, definitely take it there and try and enforce your rights.
Okay, well that's good to know. That's good to know, because you just want to make sure that you have protection. You know, no matter where you are, if you things go bad or awry. So let's just say I don't pay my rent as a tenant, or I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do as a tenant. Can you be forced out of your place in any way?
Yeah, so it depends on what you have called what you've agreed on when you entered into the agreement. What you said, it's very important to protect yourself in there. For thinking that I may meet this problem, let me solve it in here. Before you actually encounter the problem. So you could actually solve many problems by how you craft or you draft your agreement. So let's say that consequences of certain breaches or your refusal to fulfill a contractual obligation, you not doing what you are supposed to do under the contract, could be so serious that it doesn't make it worthwhile to continue this relationship. So then let's stop it. So those very serious breaches, those can entitle either party to end it. So if it's the landlord that has that entitlement, but you not paying your rent, what's the whole point of the landlord coming?
Right, exactly.
So if you're not paying, that's a huge thing.
That's a biggie.
Yes, so he can notify you, demand his rent, you're not paying, he can take you on, end the agreement, and then, but it's not that easy to, because kicking somebody out requires some force, and then there are certain things that are not pleasant.
Right, exactly.
So you would need court backing for you to kick somebody out of their house, if you go. So you say you have breached this agreement. I go to the court for an order to evict you.
Okay, got you. Because I know in the States you have 30 days or quit. And my people from the States.
No, so what if they don't quit? Then you have a problem.
Exactly. And a lot of times sheriffs are involved in it, and sometimes even like your landlord can change the locks.
Yes.
Take all your stuff out. So I wanted to know here in Ghana.
So I don't know who the sheriffs are, but I think they are enforcers of the law. So before the enforcer of the law comes in, there must have been a process that has taken place to let them. So you can, like I said, the landlord can go to the rent control place to get a recommendation from the officer that this person should be evicted. Then the district court now says we agree, evict. Then the bailiffs, we call them bailiffs, will assist to evict. So it may not be the same thing, but I'm sure there are similarities. Such that the law enforcement has to be
has to be present.
To take you out. But you see, the fact that a landlord has to wait often has to wait, even to change the locks of somebody's property without the rights back. And I had a case like that. The man had gone to change. The judge almost knocked It was very
Oh my
serious in court.
gosh.
Yes, he said, "You changed the locks. You changed the lock." She almost put it. It wasn't a joke. So it's not advisable to
Ooh.
go changing people's locks when you haven't, pressed your rights in court. So you go and press it and say, "This person owes me." So that another reason you should even go through the courts is that if the person owes you for, let's say, has not paid their rent for 6 months, if you go through the courts, you get all your 6 months rent. You could even get you get interest. So it's better to do that than to push the person out. Then the person will now come back and say, bring another action against you for all sorts of things. So once you take them to court, you are entitled to all the rent they've not paid, plus interest, plus cost, because they have now forced you to spend more money. So you get cost and so on. So yes, that's it.
Okay, well, actually, I have another question for you. I've noticed that being here over the past maybe 2 or 3 years, I'm noticing that more landlords are asking for deposits when you're looking for places. As a matter of fact, when my mom and I were looking for a place about maybe a year and a half ago, we were noticing that deposits are being asked now, when that wasn't the case maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So with deposits, how does that work? What is legally the landlord's right of how many months can he have for a deposit to be asked, if you know?
Are we looking at what happens or what's on the box? You can agree with a landlord.
Okay.
You can agree with a landlord to pay forward a property. You have to agree with a person on how many months rent. But I think there's a caveat in the Rent Control Act about how many years of advance. Do you mean advance payment, as in paying?
Yeah, paying like for deposits, like if any type of damage was incurred.
Oh, sorry.
That type of deposit.
Yeah, security deposit.
Yeah, security deposit.
Yes, definitely. It's allowed because that is the landlord protecting themselves against what you may or may not do. And the deposit is not. We are not saying the landlord is going to take the deposit. If you behave properly as a tenant, you should get your deposit back.
Right, of course, of course.
Yes. So it's something that the parties can agree to. Again, if in the beginning there's a security deposit clause and you don't agree to it, look for a different landlord. But the moment you agree to it, you are bound to pay it. And then, of course, at the end of the day, the landlord should return it to you if nothing goes back, because the security deposit is for repair works repair work that became important because you did something wrong.
Not just natural, just wear and tear of the place.
That's you can't. But if the landlord, let's say at the end of your tenancy, the sink is broken.
Right, that's something major.
He deserves, he deserves, some reparation. So your security deposit will take care of it. If you don't agree, agree in the beginning. Once you agree to it, it's something you should be willing to give up for.
Okay, well, what are certain different entities and agencies that can help with people just in case if they deal with a breach, whether it be a landlord or a tenant? What are some places that you can go to get, some justice and help?
Yeah, so I think we've already spoken about the courts and the rent control office. It depends on the nature. If there's assault involved, for instance, you definitely have to go to the police station and report an assault. Okay, so feel free to go to the police station to report an assault on you, any form of threat, violence on you because of this agreement. So do that, it's important. And then there's also the court. And again, depending on the values we are talking about, the parties may have already determined for themselves dispute resolution forms like arbitration, like I said before. So all that is there. But again, make use of the police if they are relevant in the situation. Go to rent control and then go to the courts.
Okay, got you. Well, this was very informative, I have to say, because like I said, a lot of people are interested in knowing about this, the different laws here, and how they differ. So I appreciate you for coming onto the channel and clearing some things up for us, even for myself. This is some useful information for myself when I become an official tenant of somewhere. So thank you so much, Leonie.
It's always a pleasure.
And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you in the next video. Mwah. Bye.